What is up, DTube? Steem blockchain. So today I want to talk about that speech is communication. So this is a really interesting topic, right? Because that also means that value transactions is speech. It also means typing on Twitter, typing on Facebook, typing on the internet, making a YouTube video. It's all speech. And this gets really interesting in many ways because so with these big companies that get like a monopoly on speech eventually, it's kind of scary, because they can kind of close down your account. So okay, so they can kind of remove your speech. Now I have a kind of like a unique look at this. For example, I don't like the term free speech because it seems like people it's like manipulative, and that people are taking advantage of it in like weird ways to use to say crazy things. I think a better way of looking at it is to just try to be responsible and like sensible. And if you're doing those things, you don't have to go and say these other terms, which I think that people many times misinterpret and just find you super annoying. It's like if you're responsible, you're gonna get more freedom. And if you're striving to be more sensible, also, you're gonna get more freedom. So, speech is communication. Okay, so communication is really, really fascinating topic, because it's really interesting when all these like even now with like when all these companies are like outsourcing a lot of stuff to a lot of other companies. So you even have like nation states that like outsource digital IDs and other critical service, like maybe they outsource their mobile carrier to make to outsource it to a weird company that does a horrible job that makes an app for the mobile carrier for the local mobile carrier. And a lot of things has really gotten worse the last 10 years. So for example, if I have mobile internet and if I just want to do a basic thing, like I want to see, like, maybe say I bought 10 gigs of data, mobile data, and if I just want to see how much data I have left, that can be super complicated. Like I tried it yesterday, and basically, so first I had to download an app. I had to type in my new phone number, and then I had to get a verification code to my mobile. Not only that, then I had to create a password, and I had to verify, and then I have to connect an email, and then I have to get the verification message on the email. And then when I logged into the app, which was an outsourced app that only had three ratings out of 5 ratings in the Google Play Store, when I opened the app, I couldn't even find a way to see how much data I have left. I could only find, oh, do you want to buy more data? But finding the data, like the simple information of how much data do I have left, I couldn't even find that. And this is 2020. And this is just a simple example of like, a lot of stuff is getting worse. A lot of stuff just gets worse. So if people don't like, if people don't like look at things and like question things and so on, many times you just get a more horrible experience. So basically what happens in a situation like this is you have so many companies involved at the so back in the days, maybe there was like one company with like a couple of employees in a building, and like they did everything in-house. And now is because more and more stuff is starting to get outsourced, a lot of stuff is just getting worse, because communication between these sources that are getting paid from various people, the communication is worse. So they make a worse app, they make a worse experience. Maybe they're not even speaking the same language. a lot of stuff really, really, really just gets worse. And a lot of like communication and speech gets a lot of damage when people cannot communicate. And when you have these companies that wants to come into and like control speech, it gets kind of weird, you know. Or like they don't want you to speak, they want you to pay for it. They want you to pay to access speech. But because it kind of is like that. It's like now when a lot of these companies, they can't make that much money on selling phones. So what they're doing now is they are trying to make you pay to kind of lock you up in some weird contract. And banks are doing this also because they can't really make money on you that much on the device you're buying, on the hardware you're buying. So they're trying to make some weird contracts that is basically most of the time pretty horrible. And they're trying to, they almost have this mafia role where they kind of extort people. So it's like, okay, if you want to use speech, you have to pay this like high sum. And it really is a high sum. It's like, in some regions, like 10 gigs of data, it's like, it's $20 or like $25 for 10 gigs. And 10 gigs these days, that's like 3 days or something like that. So it's like, they're not, in many ways, companies are not really your friend, you know, especially now when it comes to speech. And in some ways they're helping a lot, in some ways they're sort of making things worse. And I understand that it's like, it's a struggle for these companies also to like finding their role, like because there's a lot of people also that abuse these companies, and like a lot of people do a lot of crazy things and then they have to act. A lot of people being crazy on purpose, you know. So speech is communication, right? And you know, speech is very, very interesting in many ways, because if people don't speak and if people don't use their voice, in many ways people don't know they exist, and nobody's listening to them because they don't even know they exist. A big problem with speech in many ways at the moment is like people speaking different languages. So I can't even understand people. Like you have like global leaders that like talks in their local language on the internet. So they're using a global platform and they don't even use English. It's super weird. Internet is trying to make communication better, but in many ways it's making stuff more complex because either people are using it in stupid ways, or maybe people are just ignorant. But in the long term, it seems like speech and stuff like that, it should get a little bit easier and better. But we don't know, like this coin can like follow, this coin